right now from American Hunter Magazine, the executive field editor, Mr. Frank Miniter. How you doing, sir?
Hey, Ken. Thanks for having me on again.
Hey, it's my pleasure. You had a great piece at nationalreview.com. England used to be a country of men. Obviously, with the riots and, frankly, how the British government has responded, what we saw from a lot of the British people, you kind of have to wonder, where did all those manly virtues go?
You know, you're right. I hope people here are watching that and not just thinking that's just happening across the Atlantic, that can come here, because there's really two fundamental reasons for why that's occurring. One is the socialist state that they've set up of this. It's a nanny state over there where people they can live on the public dole for their life. Their college is paid for. If they don't want to work, they really just don't have to. Their health care is paid for, and so on. So they're kind of spoiled children, and now they're acting up in this kind of way. And most of the people being arrested now in the looting were born in the 1990s. I mean, this is a young generation of hooligans that are being raised there. And then you have the flip side to it. You've got the law-abiding populace that have been largely disarmed and are not allowed to defend themselves, defend their own lives and property. So, of course, that hooligan side of this doesn't feel compelled not to start this kind of problem, because no one is there to stop it. So you have this horrible situation that has been set up, and if you look in this country, you can see the beginnings of that coming here as gun control moves in, especially to our inner cities, and you also have this welfare state in our inner cities. So I'm hoping people look at it and go, wait a second, we have to stop this from coming here.
I think so. And I mean, if there's one silver lining that we've seen in England, I think it's not the government response, which I think has been really sad and far from conservative. They seem to still be thinking that more government is the solution here. But you've had a lot of people in London, for instance, just show up with brooms and dustpans wanting to clean up the damage. Now, they were told, again, by their government to go home. Couldn't run the risk of them cutting themselves in broken glass or anything. But you also have a petition drive that's going on right now, and they've got in just a few days, almost 100,000 signatures. I guess actually more than 100,000 signatures, calling for the rioters and looters to be cut off from the welfare state. You riot, you loot, you lose your benefits. If you're living in a council house or public housing, you get kicked out of your house. You don't do this, and that to me, Frank, is like one of the few bright spots that we've seen. That there are people out there who get it, who are fed up.
That's like cutting off the kid's allowance after he was bad. It helps. But the other side of it has to be there. I mean, you have to actually be able to stick to it and have some individual responsibility and accountability, which I'm hoping they also get that side of it. I mean, there's been a run on cricket bats there as well, where people are looking for any means they can find to defend themselves.
Absolutely. And, so we know that there are good people in England who still get it. I mean, it's not I don't want to say it's a completely lost cause, but the problem is, I don't know if you heard any of David Cameron's comments today. He mentioned parents and said, we've got a lot of parents who aren't doing their job. And then he went on to basically say, and so it'll be the government's job to do what parents should be doing. Well, that's not going to help anything.
No, he thinks the government is the patriarchal father of society that can step in and right all these little wrongs and be there. They can't be there every time there's a looter someplace or something is going wrong. They've obviously shown that their police force can't stop every one of these atrocities. It's up to individual accountability, responsibility, the way we still have largely here in the United States. Hopefully they can reach back again and see that. That's why I compared this, because this started in Tottenham, right? That's why I compared this to a riot or a criminal action that happened there in 1909, where the people actually rose up with arms and chased these bandits across town to catch them. That was a very different people then.
Yeah.
And it seems to me a lot of those things have been lost, those virtues, those individual liberties.
I think so. And as you say, what's been gained is not enhanced security. It's not a safer society. It is a surveilled society. There are 20,000 CCTV cameras in London, and the police are going to use as many of those as they can to try to identify who is rioting and looting. But cameras don't prevent crime. Clearly, that's not the case. And and you point out, England is a very violent place, more violent than the United States.
Well, that picture of that guy stripping down with a looter stands there holding his sneakers and T-shirt already as he takes off his pants.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to know who took that picture for one thing. That hasn't been revealed. Did that come from one of these crime cameras, or was that someone's cell phone? They were standing there taking a picture of this guy stripping. I mean, where is there machismo? Where is there? I mean, would you go down that easily? I'd go down swinging. I wouldn't just hand my pants over to some looter.
No, you're right. But you bring up something fascinating, and that right there, Frank, is where the divide starts. Because there are going to be people in England who, if they're listening, are going to say, "Oh my goodness, did you hear what Frank Miniter just said?" He said that you should punch somebody in the face if they're trying to strip you naked and steal your stuff. I can't believe what a barbarian Frank Miniter is to say that you should fight back and defend yourself.
Well, they tell that to kids on playgrounds now, but if you don't stand up to the bully once in a while in your life, that bully's just going to keep on going. You have to stand up for yourself. There is individual accountability, responsibility. But unfortunately, when someone does, someone breaks into your home in London, for example, and you defend yourself with your cricket bat maybe, you can be taken to court and thrown in jail for defending your own life and property, which is just astounding to me.
It is. In the segment right before you came on, I was quoting from John Adams in his argument defending these soldiers who were on trial in the Boston Massacre, and he was quoting Blackstone's law when it comes to self-defense. And I said, how sad is it that here we are, the people in London who want to be able to protect themselves and those they love, want to be able to ensure that their family business remains standing and isn't set on fire as soon as the sun goes down. These people don't have as many rights or liberties to defend themselves, their families, and their property as their grandfathers and their great-grandfathers did. Now, how do you call that progress?
No, they've given them up, and it's incredible, and it's throughout the 20th century. And you could argue is the horrific wars they went through, and they're looking for a way to get beyond that. That's how it sort of got together on them. But you hope that they also learn the other part of that they had, that we gained from them, from English society back in the day, that individual accountability, individual rights and responsibility, the ability to defend our own lives and our own property, that has just been dashed in that country.
Yeah. So, besides the lessons of don't let this happen here, for God's sakes, don't let this happen here, what should Americans take from this, Frank?
Well, I think we have to learn that why these things are happening around the world, because it isn't just in London or in Greece or whatever. It's happening here too. We had the LA riots in '92, and there are things flashing up here now in cities right now where we're having some of these issues. And why is it happening here? You look and you actually make a very clear comparison to the areas that is happening here and in London. You have the same. It's in areas with strict gun control. It's in areas with a high welfare rate. It's in those same socialized sort of people that this is occurring. So we have the sickness here, so to speak, where people aren't earning that kind of thing. It's kind of like a spoiled child, right? He grew up in his house. You gave him everything he wanted. When he acted up, you just gave him more. And that's the state of the youth that unfortunately you find right now in London and in some of our inner cities here. And I think by giving them some of this individual accountability, responsibility, where they pay for their actions, this idea that dates right back to our founding, I think we can reach back and begin to take our freedoms and make sure they're solidified.
I hope so. And again, I think I think Cameron's right when he says that this is largely a cultural problem. But again, I think where he fails his audience is by suggesting that government is the solution. We are the ones who determine our culture. And we are the ones ultimately who will fix it. It's not going to be a government program. It's not going to be Great Society 2 from Barack Obama that's going to turn things around. It will be us taking the time and the effort to, and frankly, demanding that our society and our culture have a certain level of, if not civility, civilization.
Yeah, well, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, as you mentioned earlier, they worried about an effeminate man. They wanted that man to have real virtues tied to the ground. And Thomas Jefferson wanted to stay farmers to own those virtues. But Adams had a different view of it. They worried about that moral degradation, and I think that is what we're seeing now. They actually talked about it back in our founding.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, Frank, it's a great piece. I hope that folks will go to nationalreview.com and check it out for themselves. England used to be a country of men. Thank you again, sir, and look forward to talking to you very soon.
Oh, thank you, Ken.